If you're that person who always has calves that seem really tight and you've done a lot of stretching that hasn't really seemed to help, let's talk about how we can fix that for good. Now, I've seen this issue several times. In fact, I'm working with a guy right now who has this very issue. After about 2 to 3 months of treating him, he is roughly 90% better in terms of how tight his calves feel per his report. So what I've noticed is that there are several different factors that can play in here. So let's talk about what those are and then how you can fix them. Now, the first thing is the strength of the calf itself. When we have a tight muscle, often we think we should go ahead and stretch that because it feels tight. Sometimes it feels tight because the muscle isn't strong enough to keep up with the demands that we place on it in everyday life. So if the calf is weak and you try and go do some running, jumping, a lot of walking, it will feel very tight the more you do that because the muscle it's kind of knotting up on itself because it's not strong enough to handle that demand. So with the calf, there are two different muscles that we have to focus on. We have the gastrocnemius muscle. That is the muscle that sits on the outside of the calf, the one that you can actually see when you're looking at someone's calf. And then you have what's called the soleus muscle, which is deep to that, closer to the bone. To focus on the gastrocnemius, you can do a heel raise with the knee straight. Obviously, there are a ton of different varieties of heel raises. You can do weights, you could do it on a stair, you could do one leg or two leg. Either way, if you do it with the knee straight, you're going to bias the gastrocnemius muscle. Now, if we do the heel raise with the knee bent, that is when we can bias the soleus muscle. Now, because the knee is bent, the gastrocnemius is placed on a lot of slack, meaning that this position is not ideal for that muscle to actually help us move. So if we do it with the knee bent, you're biasing the soleus muscle. Now we have to do it both ways. If one is really strong and one is really weak, then you have this imbalance in the calf, whereas ideally both are strong so that one of the muscles isn't getting tight and knotted up throughout the day as you do your activity. We will also want to look at several of the other muscles in the lower leg that assist the calf in its primary function. When these are weak, means the calf has to do more than it otherwise should, and then it can feel tight because of that increased demand. So by strengthening the ankle, by going both in and out with the foot with some sort of resistance, you can also achieve this by doing a single leg balance on something unstable. We also want to focus on strengthening the muscles that curl the toes. Now, an easy way to do this is to simply push your toes down into the ground and then go ahead and do a heel raise, making sure you keep that pressure with the toes down into the ground. One of the reasons why several of these muscles will get weak is because people spend most of their life in a shoe that restricts the way that the foot can move and leads to abnormal mechanics with walking and running. So if you remove that supportive shoe in favor of something that's more minimalist, the muscles of the foot and lower leg will fire in a more natural state and they will maintain their strength. Now, the final reason why your calf might be tight is because the ankle joint itself is tight. If you're the kind of person who, when you squat, you can't go all the way down without your heels coming up, or you have to turn your feet farther out in order to get down deeper, then your ankle is tight. How I would fix this is simply go ahead, lean against a wall, and then put one leg behind you, and then drop the knee, trying to stretch out the calf as far as you can. Ideally, you keep the heel down, and you should feel a stretch somewhere in the calf, or you might actually feel it in the ankle joint itself. Either way, you are stretching what is tight, and just continue with that, and that mobility will improve over time. I hope that was helpful for you. If it was, I would appreciate it if you could hit the like button. Otherwise, if you have any questions, go ahead and put those in the chat. And then if you want, you can subscribe to my channel where we talk about how we can build a physically fit and functional body that can last throughout the course of our lives.